Hi there, it's Marita with Harmonic Wholeness, and author of Living with Grace, a story of love and healing, leaving paw prints on the heart. And today I am going to read a chapter called The Tapestry. And of all the chapters in my book, this is like my favorite. The premise, the idea, the concept of your life being a tapestry is so profound. And to give you just a little synopsis of what my book is about, it's about, as you can see on the cover, there's a silhouette sort of kind of my kitty, and her name was Grace, and she died very, very young. She was not even 3, and she lived into her name through the dying process, and became this wise one, this wise being that I ended up channeling her wisdom for months after she passed. And eventually it turned into a book. And there's a lot that was not put into the book, but this story is very profound on many, many, many different levels in terms of how it can support people through life, through death, through the grieving of someone whom we've lost. And like I said, I'm going to read the chapter called The Tapestry, and we'll see where that all leads us, shall we? So Grace says, every paw step forward is part of that journey of living with grace. When Grace first explained the tapestry to me, this is what she said. My story is a story of love. It's a path of love. Every step we take, every paw step forward, every choice, decision, thought, everything is part of that journey of living with grace. It doesn't stop when you die. It never stops, ever. It's a continuum. Whether it's a paw step forward, whether it's a little step or a big step, it doesn't matter. It's part of the journey. It's part of the tapestry. She talked a lot about the tapestry of life. Tapestry is the whole picture, the art, the beauty of life, what it is. It's the whole. It's all of what we experience in our life. While we are in life, making each choice, going down the path that leads from one choice point to another, those are known as the weft. They are us making choices, good ones, not so good ones, doesn't matter because they're all choices which we've taken on. The warp, or the stationary yarn, is soul, and it's always there. It's constant. It's confident. It never doubts why it's here or what it came to learn. Our soul allows us our humanness and our choices. When we allow and ask, the soul answers. The warp, our divinity, is always, it is all we know before we incarnate into the physical body. The warp is divine perfection. Once we come into the physical, the weft begins to create our picture. This is when our tapestry begins. We are now independent beings capable of making choices and going along the path our choices lead to. When we make a less than perfect choice, typically we were not listening to our higher knowing. If we're not listening and continue to make the same choice from habit rather than truth, life happens. It's in these moments that we're forced to go still, because at that point, there is no choice. When there has been injury, there's a corresponding recovery. Everything else, everything you thought was important before this incident now becomes faded, and its importance diminished. Because why? We have to deal with what's at hand. Many times our wisdom and our deepest learning comes from these episodes. The dark night of the soul is a place of deep spiritual learning. It is a deep learning where everything else falls away and the only thing that matters is healing, taking care of your body, returning to a thriving state. As Grace lay on the side of the road, she didn't say, "Let me die." Instead, she said, "Get me to the next place so I can get out of this. Get me to the next place so I can get out of this." And so on and so on. She knew that at that juncture, that these choices, these decisions, they were being made on her behalf, but she had to trust because she had no strength. And yet the fascinating thing is she did not give in to death. How many times in her short life could she have relinquished, let go, and gone to the other side? And how many times could she have made that choice and taken that weft in the road that would have taken her home to wholeness? But she didn't. She feared death because she had not yet made peace with her life. That's profound. There was a part of her deep down that knew she needed to find her way to me. She said, "I didn't have a name and I didn't have a face, but I was looking for a soul signature." She was looking for an energetic pattern, and that is where Aria came in. Aria is one of her kittens. She was pregnant when she was hit by a truck. And Aria is the cat that I sought to adopt, and then I adopted Grace in addition to the kitten. We do not create our tapestry by ourselves. We are not the only ones holding the yarn. Other people come along with different color yarns. They weave it into our warp and it becomes a beautiful image, or it becomes a black shadow. With each new yarn or bright, beautiful color, or the dark shadow in that warp, in that color of yarn, those are points to continue with the dark or to move forward with joy and flow with color. It's up to us to keep choosing people and opportunities that enhance our tapestry. That makes us stronger. It makes us better. And that make us more of our soul essence. Aria brought her beautiful colored yarn to Grace, and together they brought their threads into my tapestry. And together we've created a beautiful picture. Aria helped facilitate Grace and me finding each other. I was wholly in the flow of allowing that to unfold in the most natural way. I knew in the depth of my belly that the pregnant cat that had been hit by a car was my cat, and I would adopt one of her kittens. I didn't need a photograph. I didn't need anything, but I did need her to have her kittens so that I could bring Grace and Aria home. So that's just yummy. I just love that whole concept of the tapestry. Do you weave? Are you a weaver? Have you ever really looked at what goes in to making a weaving, that weft and the warp, and to consider creating something? Let's see, I think I was in high school. My father made me it was like wasn't a box. It was more like how do you call it? He just used like 1 by maybe 8 wood and made me a box with no front or back. I don't know how to say it. And then there were nails up on top and at the bottom. And then I put that warp on there and I made weavings. Maybe that's why she gave me that analogy, because I could understand it. So I invite you to look at your life right now. Who's brought you colorful threads? Who has brought you dark threads? What lessons have you learned from either one? There's gifts in both. Look at the pictures in your mind's eye and choose one to focus on. Who brought you the colorful threads? Was it a person, a group of people? Feel that experience. What does it feel like? Do you find it somewhere in your body? Where in the body do you feel it? Do you find yourself smiling? Do you feel your eyes light up? Who's with you? What do you see in your memory? Write about it. Write about that experience. And maybe if you want to take me up on a challenge, write them a note. Make it tangible. Maybe, on the other hand, you're being drawn to someone that handed you a dark colored thread. It's a painful memory, it's a painful experience, and it needs healing. And it's here right now. You can heal it right now. What does it feel like? What happened that hurt? Move past the blame. At this point, it doesn't matter. Right now, what matters is forgiveness, because the forgiveness leads to grace. Go where your emotions take you and see if you can find some resolution. Maybe that person needs a note or a phone call. So that's just a little sample of what's in my book. My book has a lot of gems in it, a lot of it's got a lot of depth. It has a lot of depth. It's the story, and then there's wisdom married into the story. And I invite you to check it out. Again, it's Living with Grace, a story of love and healing, leaving paw prints on the heart. Available on Amazon. You can go to Living with Grace, the book. That's my site. And then it shows you other places, other retailers that carry the book. And I can't wait to share more with you at another time. Again, this is Marita, Harmonic Wholeness, author of Living with Grace. And I wish you a day of grace. Bye-bye.